Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody. So, 1 minute and we'll start. Just a moment. So, it is 45 minutes and we'll start our next session. Good afternoon, dear participants in the conference. It's good to see you all here. Thank you very much for your attending our session of section, and let me express my gratitude to organizers of this conference. I'm Sofia Kafka, moderator of our section number 5 under the title Global and Regional Challenges for the Development of Communities and Territories. Let me take the welcome well to our session participants because I am head of this section and moderator too. These are some difficult times for our country, but we believe in the victory of Ukraine and the nest of after-war economic rebuilding of our country have gathered us online today at such important conference. I wish you fruitful work, interesting report and papers, lively scientific discussion, and substantial results for the sake of our country. So there are 12 reports which were submitted and included in our section. They deal with urgent aspects of global and regional challenges for the development of communities and territories. And due to our online presentation, let us take a decision how long these reports will last. I propose 7 minutes because we have a large number of papers for each speaker. Do you have any other suggestions? Do you agree 7 minutes? So 7 minutes for each speaker is accepted. I also would like to know if there is a need in some technical assistance during the presentation, which concern in switch on or switch off your presentation file. Please let me know. And in chat of our online meeting, I wrote some notes for speakers who will be speaking one to another. Please note that moment. And if you let me, I'll start with our first presentation, the title of which is consolidation of business process in ensuring substance development of the region. And the floor is given to Христина Залуцька. Please, Christa, are you ready? So I think Christa is not here. Just a moment, yes. If Christa is not here, I ask another participant, Mr. Panders. Be ready here.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Mrs. Nastya. Are you ready?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so let you introduce yourself and let you introduce the theme of your topic and report. Will start, please.
Good day. Just a moment. I switch on my presentation and we'll begin. I see my presentation.
Yes, it is loaded. So please, start.
My name is Anastasia Pandas. I'm a PhD associate professor from Odessa State Academy of Civil Engineering and Architecture, and I am a representative from a group of authors, scientists from our academy. And I would like present our research work, determination of the competitiveness of cities and districts of the Odessa region. And first of all, I would like to notice the main purpose of our study of our research work is to identify the most progressive and promising for investment areas of the Odessa regions and dependence and depressive moments too, which will allow implementing the region's development strategy more efficient and taking account the needs of the depression regions too. So we know that Odessa region occupies most of the territory of the northwestern Black Sea region, and Odessa is an important transport, industrial, culture, and tourist center with a population of our 1 million people. And key characteristic of the components of Odessa region, Odessa economic complex, you can see in this slide, and should notice on the whole one of the important factors for the sustainable development of the region. Its social economic sphere is a strong competitive position of the region. However, the presence of only competitive advantages cannot increase the degree of competitiveness. There is also a need to develop the capacity to make full use for resources and achieving the set economic goals. A stable competitive position requires real opportunities and the use of exciting resources as efficient as possible. If analyze next slide, if analysis of the volume of products sold in Odessa, you can see, and in this slide shows that the largest volume falls on domestic trade, then industry, transport, warehouses, construction, agriculture, forestry, healthcare, and social assistance, and real estate transaction, and the less moment that 1% is accounted to by scientific and technical activities. But the geographical position of the city of Odessa region implies the development of other areas, such as, of course, is recreation, agriculture. However, the assessment of the current situation of economic development in the Odessa region is mixed. The regions are developed unevenly. And if to identify promising and depressed area of the Odessa region, we analyzed information using economic and statistical methods. And the goal is the distribution by groups or by clusters of districts and cities of the region using the special software statistical package for the social sciences. Statistical analyzing using this software package was determining the clustering of cities and districts in the Odessa region. Clustering is statistics is the division of many objects into groups, or can say not groups, more clusters, according to certain characteristic which among the group have the greatest similarity and the maximum differences with other group. Of course, for the calculation, we use data from state website of Statistics of Ukraine, and basis for this background and basis for this database. And for the initial data, we choose the key indicators of the region. You can see these indicators in the slide. The main position is financial result of enterprises, balance profit-making enterprises, financial result, enterprises that received a loss, financial result, number of enterprises, number of employed workers, and average population. And agglomeration was out using hierarchical clustering for the district of the Odessa region. And analyzing of the cluster distance gives group for conclusion with the agglomeration of cities in the Odessa region. It makes sense to consider them breakdown into three clusters. And now you can see these clusters in the slide. The first clusters should include objects, cities, Измаил, Kotovsk, Teplodar, Yuzhny. Then second includes Belgorod-Dnestrovsky, Chernomorsk, and the third, only one city, one object, Odessa. The cluster distance group can consist four clusters. Cluster 1, 17 districts of Odessa region. To a greater extent, the profitability of enterprises, the small number of compared to some. Then cluster 2, Limansky district, in which enterprises generally received a loss, but there is significant human potential. Cluster 3, Ovidiopol district, with a negative result of the activity of enterprises, but a large number of exciting residents and employees. Entrepreneur activities too, confirmed by a large number of registered enterprises, singles out these districts in a separate cluster. And cluster 4, 7 districts with low entrepreneur activity, mostly.
I'm sorry, your time is limited. Please make the conclusion. Thank you.
Yes, and mostly on profitability results of enterprises, and these are key position. And in this report I show only the main points of our paper, of our research. This issue, of course, requires further consideration. And thank you for attention. Thank you for opportunity to share.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Are there any questions or comments on this report? Does somebody want to ask anything?
Yeah, I would like to ask questions.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you for interesting presentation. I would like to hear some clearance about what are the criteria of dividing such city on clusters.
I'm sorry, what period?
Criteria.
Key criteria, of course, I show in the slide that it's financial result of enterprises, profit-making enterprises, number of enterprises. So we oriented for enterprises activity for special period, and for different region of Odessa. So it's more research, and can see that research about agglomeration process too. So, and key factors was financial result of enterprises and social economic development of this region.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions more? Okay, Nastya, thank you very much for your interesting report. And other discussions, there are following problem relating to medical infrastructure. And I would like to make her presentation, Mrs. Maria Karpiak. The title of her report is Development of Medical Infrastructure of Territorial Communities of Ukraine in Conditions of Sectoral Reform. Are you here, Maria? Are you ready?
Switch on your microphone. Switch.
No. So, let me ask another speaker. I think.
Hello, sorry.
Are you here, Maria?
Yes, I don't have my microphone,
okay.
Sorry.
Okay, you're welcome, please.
Thank you.
So your presentation is start. So when Maria is preparing, I want to remind you, please open your cameras because it is very important for our organizers to record our meeting online with open camera and with your eyes. Okay, thank you very much, if it is possible. Do you need my help? Marichka, do you need my help?
I'm sorry. Yes, I don't understand how to share my presentation.
So, in the center of your screen, you can see button with a square. So put it, press it, and then choose share your screen.
Sorry.
Start presentation just now in Ukrainian. Start presentation just now. The central button in the central part of screen.
Yes, just now and
choose the first line, all your screen.
Okay. Okay.
No, it's not.
No,
it's nothing. Okay, Marichka.
No, you don't see my presentation?
No, we can. It is not loud.
Sorry.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, Maria. We have your presentation on our screens. You can start.
Yes.
Other participants will help us. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay. My name is Maria Karpiak. I am PhD in Institute of Regional Research, and I would like to share with you the result of my research in topic development of medical infrastructure of territorial communities of Ukraine in the conditions of sectoral reforms. So the healthcare sector is the most vulnerable and today leads the list of the most pressing issues along with the quality of life. The importance of this area is difficult to overestimate. The medical field applies to every citizen. In addition, the importance of the inalienable human right to health is growing every year. At the same time, creating optimal conditions for the possibility of receiving medical care for every citizen and achieving quality of life standards in Ukraine is part of the state's obligations under the association agreement between Ukraine and the European Union. Since the beginning of the reform of the healthcare system in Ukraine, the problem of optimizing the medical infrastructure has come to fore. So today, in accordance with the reform of budget decentralization, the maintenance of medical institutions has come under the direct control of local authorities. Thus, there is an urgent problem to create competitive conditions for the development of medical infrastructure and improve the quality of medical services in Ukraine. The problem requires clear strategic and operational decisions. So, first of all, I should be noted that the modern organization in the healthcare system in Ukraine created significant problems and risks. The current state of the healthcare system in Ukraine is unsatisfactory. Its capabilities and potential are used very inefficiently. Despite the increase in funding for the medical sector, its impact on public health is not increasing or even decreasing. Today, the main problem of the healthcare system in Ukraine is the inconsistency of its existing model with the modern needs of society, the requirements for the quality of life of people, and international health standards. In order to form a single medical space and optimize the network of medical institutions in Ukraine is accordance with the reform, such structure as hospital districts have been established. It is an association of healthcare facilities located in the relevant territory and which provided secondary or specialized medical care to the population of this territory. In fact, the hospital districts is a network of medical institutions of optimal number and composition organized in a certain area with a rational distribution of the workload of doctors and the most efficient use of medical equipment, and that meets the practical needs and capabilities of the local population. This figure on the slide shows the approved composition of hospital districts in Ukraine. Since the beginning of the formation of hospital districts, local governments and public organizations have expressed different views on the conditions and procedure for their formation, these districts. And this indicates the presence of significant problem in this area. They include unresolved problem of accessibility of media institution within the district, uneven distribution by population, reduction of low capacity but necessary hospitals, and dismiss of a large number of medical workers. Thus, the most important problem was the availability of medical care to the population within the hospital district. This figure in the slide shows data on the availability of medical care to the population. This study was based on a survey of the population's self-assessment of health status and the level of access to certain types of health care. It should be noted that the reasons why the people could not get these services, most of them call the high cost of the services. Other reasons include the lack of medical specialists of the required profile, long queues, and others. Also, another impact issue is to support the implementation of reform and innovation by health professionals themselves. Accordingly, an adequate level of such support is the key to successful implementation of healthcare reform on the ground. And in this slide, you will see a figure that shows the results of the sociological survey on the level of support for the implementation of healthcare reform among primary care workers. As we can see, the most supported categories were introduction of free services, test research drugs, restoration of medical services in rural areas, and state provision of medical guarantees. And the next slide shows the opinion of experts of the consequences of the reform. They see the following as the biggest problem. As you can see, There are a reduction of health workers, outflow of specialists abroad, reduction of healthcare facilities, inability of local authorities to effectually sell large sums of money. So, the main conclusion of the study are low awareness of a specific reform mechanism leads to a lack of understanding of the reform process itself. The corresponding consequences are lack of dialogue between the health worker and patient, the impossibility of effective implementation of medical reform and at the regional level. Therefore, the discussion of the result of the study contributed to a deeper understanding of the essence of the process of reforming domestic medicine, as well as the development of practical recommendations for optimizing the implementation of legislative initiatives. Then, thank you for your attention.
Thank you. If you have any questions about this, please ask to Maria.
Yes, I have.
You're welcome.
Question. Sorry. Please, can you tell what is the most significant problem in the process of optimizing medical infrastructure and the formation of hospital districts?
Thank you for your questions. Since the beginning of the formation of hospital districts, local governments and public organizations have expressed different views on the conditions and process for their formation. And they include unresolved problem of accessibility of medical institutions within the district, reduction of low capacity but necessary hospitals and dismissal of a large number of medical workers. And the most important problem was the available of medical care to population within the hospital districts. So,
thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? So I can now move to our next report. I'll do it. Well, thank you. The next paper is on methodology for assessing of sustainable development of administrative territorial units. I would like to ask Mr. Gopti Dmitro to present his report.
Thank you. I will try to download the presentation.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, can you see the presentation?
Yes, it's all right. We see it.
Yes, thank you. Okay, my name is Dmitro Gopsi. I'm associate professor of the Department of Land Management and Cadastre, and in State Biotechnological University. And today I would like to propose to you the report on the topic methodology for assessing the sustainable development of administrative territorial units. The main issue in the concept of sustainable development is the methodology of assessing sustainable development process for specific regional of other administrative territorial units. In our opinion, in this context, the most promising is the metric for measuring sustainable development developed by the researcher team of the Institute of applied system analysis of the National Academy of Science of Ukraine and the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine under the leadership of academic Zgurovsky. Also, this methodology was developed to assess the sustainable development of the region of Ukraine. Its strengths is the potential for adapting to the needs of assessing the development of the administrative territorial entities. Instead, the weakness of this methodology includes the need to collect a large amount of data that are not available in official statistics, as well as the use of a complex system of weight, mostly determined by expert and therefore subjective and cannot be verified empirically. The need of simplify this methodology is in order to ensure the universality necessitated our study. As for the object of the study, there are selected three regions that are part of the northeastern economic region of Ukraine: Poltava, Sumy, and Kharkiv. However, despite the fact that the strategic and straightening calculation aimed at assessing the potential and result of regional development, these administrative territorial units belong to one cluster. In area and especially population, they are not comparable. As a result, it's often distorts the objective result of the assessment of the potential of each administrative territorial unit. Therefore, to assess the sustainable development of selected administrative territorial units, the mentioned methodology was adopted. Thus, only the indicators published in the official statistic report as of 2020 were used. Instead, data obtained by questionnaire or expertise, which could call their reliability into question, were not used. Weight were not introduced during the calculation for the reason mentioned above. Instead, for the sake of objectivity of the assessment, the baselines were adjusted where necessary to take into account the area of or population of the administrative territorial unit. To achieve this goal, we propose a system of indicators based on the official report of the main Department of Statistics in Poltava, Sumy, and Kharkiv regions. A necessary step in calculating the integrated index of sustainable development is the procedure of normalization of indication, as all indicators have different dimensions. Moreover, they can be multidirectional. The rational procedure firstly converts indicators of different dimensions into dimensional-like questions so that their change occur in the range from 0 to 1. Secondary, it allows to compare multidirection indicators without which it is impossible to form an integral index. In practice, various methods of rating are used. All of them are based on the comparison of element values of X with a certain reference value. We use the simplest and most common method of rating. Sorry. Based on the result of the calculation normalization values, we determined for 25 parameters included in the structure of the economic dimension. The structure of the environmental dimension include 18 parameters. The structure of the social dimension include 28 parameters. In terms of the structure of each dimension, the parameters were grouped in a hierarchical order into indicator, and the indicators in turn were grouped into a category, policy category. Thus, 12 indicators were identified in the structure of the economic dimension, which fell into the policy category. The structure of the environmental dimension identified 5 indicators that fell into 2 policy categories. In the structure of the social dimension, 8 indicators were identified that fell into 2 categories of policy. The value of indicators based on the value of normalized parameters is calculated by the formula of the arithmetic mean. Sustainable development is assessed using a common index ISD in the space of the 3 dimensions: economic, environmental, and social. This can be considered as the vector which value determines the levels of sustainable development, and its special position in the coordinate system characterize the degree of harmony of the development, alpha. The value of the vector ISD is in 3-dimensional space with coordinate IE, IS is found by the formula of the geometric mean. The equidistance distance of the vector ISD from each other coordinate will correspond to the greatest harmony of sustainable development. Approximation of this vector to one of the coordinate will indicate the priority development of the corresponding dimension in the neglect of the other 2. On this slide, you can see a comparison of the space of economic, environmental, and social dimension of the profiles of the ranking in relation to the ideal model. The figure shows that the base situation is observation in the Kharkiv region, where the coordinate of the economic and social dimension are close to the ideal model. Also, the coordinate of the social dimension is slightly farther. That similar coordinates is the profile of Poltava and Sumy region. At the same time, in the profile of the Sumy region, there is a significant deviation from the ideal model. In the coordinate of economic and environmental dimension, also the coordinate of the environmental dimension is slightly closer to the ideal model compared to a similar coordinate of the profile of Poltava region. According to the angle of deviation of the vector of the index of integrate sustainable development ISD from the ideal model, ideal vector, it determines the degree of harmonization of sustainable development of region alpha. According to this formula, the value of alpha will vary in the range from 0 to 1. In this case, the closer the value obtained to 0, the most harmonized the development. The result of the calculation are shown in table. The result shows that the Kharkiv region is the development most harmoniously, whilst the Sumy region shows the worst performance. And the main conclusion of our report. The simplified calculation method is universal and can be used to assess the sustainable development not only to the region of Ukraine, but also of any other administrative territorial entities. The technique in a form accessible to the general public will help to integrate quantities, allows to display the result of the development of administrative territorial units. The practicality of the methodology lies in the availability for recording in the form of a computer program, which will greatly facilitate obtaining the value necessary for making sound management decision and identify priority areas for development. Thank you for your attention. If you have any question, you're welcome to ask.
Thank you, Dmitro. Feel free to ask Dmitro if you have any questions, please.
Good afternoon. Dear colleagues from Kharkiv, I'm glad to see you. And my question is, can the proposed method be used to assess the development of united territorial communities?
Yes, of course. Thank you for your question. Yes, of course, this method can be used to assess the development of united communities, but also we have some problem, and this problem is that we have necessary collect information in a single system, and today this the main problem, because a lot of communities can collect necessary data to assess the development.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer.
Thank you.
Yes, we agree with you, Dmitro. Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, I would like to ask Tatiana Skripko to present her report devoted to important present-day problems in effect of regional smart transformation. Please, Tatiana.
Звук.
Everybody hear me?
Yes, we hear you, but we can. Oh, yes, your presentation is loading.
I apologize. I would like to present for my colleagues and visitors of our conference the short result of our research. I will show small presentation about effects of regional smart transformation. You can see we have international teams from Lviv and Chernivtsi and also from Poland. The moment when the European Community countries started lagging far behind USA, Japan, Australia, Canada, and South Korea, by the efficiency of innovations, and China began catching up at a rapid pace in the challenge of the development of regional communities that should be the starting point for tracking the transformation. European Innovation Scoreboard demonstrates that the situation has improved, but there are still many issues and problems with the new ones emerging in the pandemic and also the war. The stability of large corporations was shaken, while small creative startups are racing with breakthrough technologies with the accelerated pace of gazelles. The new trends of production reshoring to Europe, cyclical economics model, bottom-up decision-making, and paradoxical phenomena of European unity and ethnocentrism have impacted the context of socio-economic efficiency and competitiveness. Development smart specialization is in less developed countries or regions is especially relevant. The set of primary information of the research can be grouped into the official and clearly formalized, and the second one, behavioristic. In the framework of the first rational cluster of materials, the author uses the guide of smart transformation in the European Union as a standard, with official statistics services to carry out the current statistical analysis and dynamics of the student of higher educational institution. Another cluster of primary materials, neurocognitive, includes the result of sociological service from last years covering the employed in IT branch in the western region of Ukraine and a panel survey of Ukrainians. You can see a simplified approach. This formula include goals, criteria, factors, methods, and resource. This is main formula for our hypothesis. And the hypothesis is verified to conduct a more in-depth analysis of the region ecosystem efficiency mechanism, econometric estimation, regression analysis of independent variables x and function y can be presented in the form of the logical formula you can see. And we connected economic effects and gross regional product. The mechanism of the regional management transformation efficiently should be considered element by element. So it's like a pairwise correlation. The factors that determine the result of the manager object's activity should be examined. The result of the calculation of variables numerical characteristic are proceeds using Statistica version 6 software package. And econometric estimation, like I say, about independent variables x and function y. So participation in Industry 4.0, that is the industry of the 4, 5, and 6 waves of innovation, is nowadays of decisive importance for the competitiveness of a country or a region. The progress of the Ukrainian economy based on the non-linear concept started in 2000s from the cluster approach. And my colleague before exactly presented this cluster approach. But cluster consolidates the players of a central geographic area with social, economic, and professional interest. The advantages of the cluster models of economic development are undeniable in terms of new functional and resource-related links, infrastructure, labor markets, and scientific, educational, and research services. Yet the problem of prolonging the life cycle of traditional activity types on some territory is debatable. The conservatism regarding the emergence of new direction is not in the favor of the employment of young generation, as millennials will not be forced to get employed in difficult physical production. However, a small number of projects are synchronized with the European Union framework programs, Industry 4.0, and Smart Strategy. For that matter, Western Ukraine is a progressive region as the IT cluster is being framed. The knowledge economy era have common the classic Porter scheme of value chain has qualitatively changed, which would be interesting to examine in order to determine the reserves of improving the efficiency of business models. So we take this value change and adapt it to our situation with IT branch in Lviv region, and what we can see, we can see that private educational institution also increase the share of graduate due to the digitalization, yet they do it slower than the leaders. And meanwhile, private colleges increase the share of IT graduates faster. In 2020, around 7,000 students received the diplomas of junior specialists in IT. The graduate of state colleges prevailed among them. from these private colleges, we have around 90% of junior specialists in IT. The number of junior specialists is growing on the most market, mostly due to the growing number of specialized schools and courses, as the professional is promising and fashionable. Yet, over half of colleges graduates do not start working, but continue their studies. 3 universities and other higher educational institutions prepare specialists in Lviv. The trend of an increasing number of students and young specialists in IT you can see on this table. The company's management and funding infrastructure differ by the structure of functional authority and expenditures. Therefore, first mentors and business angels emergent. Expenditures can be optimized and the value of final product can be increased by evaluating each element and stage of activity in a value chain. Global practice shows higher functioning efficiently for companies if it is consolidated around the fundamentally new idea. The companies of the new waves of innovation reacted to lockdown in different ways. IT companies quickly adapted to the situation in condition of quarantine, for example, about COVID. They reduced spending, suspended some projects, readjusted and adapted marketing strategy, and switched to remote work from home. In addition to the economic aspect of the business model transformation, the managers see the security and health of employees as a top priority goals. The result of work from home even improved and the skills are efficiently developed to achieve competitive digital advantages. An IT cluster functioning in Lvivska Oblast quite successfully integrated informational, intellectual, personnel, material, technical, technological, non-material, financial, investment, and innovating frameworks. So the region's smart specialization continues to develop the component of the investment innovation process from the search for prospective innovative ideas and projects to commercialization of the result of innovative and research activity, including infrastructure, maintenance, and development of new innovative products. The effect of smart transformation of the region cannot be estimated and measured unambiguously, but a single indicator. Yet we advocate the view that the modern ecosystem is based on the 3 P. P, profit, P, people, and P, planet. Profit, people, and planet. The average age of staff is about 29 person. So job creating for youth in the advantages of the IT industry. The size of company and its business efficiently have a direct linear relationship. So verification of hypothesis on the significance of regression and correlation coefficients is equal to verification of hypothesis on the significance of linear regression evaluation, what we can see on the table. According to the values of the coefficient of determination, the regression equation is chosen accurately. So it shows that this normal good model. mathematic model. You can see our formula.
Yes, we see it.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting to see as a final of my report graphic representation of parameter what we researcher and analyzed it. So we can see the case coefficient of correlation between economic efficiently of IT industry and gross regional product is correspondent very fine. This is blue line is gross regional product, and dark is IT economic effect. Dark, yeah. And so we have this line of income of the popular in Lvivska Oblast. So we can make a conclusion: the value chain undergoes qualitative changes in the modern economy. The ecosystem transforms by investment in IT and the attraction of local governments to cooperation in terms of infrastructure development. The competitiveness of such ecosystem is based on the objectives of social, financial, and ecological nature, creating an environment for a resilient regional economy. Demographic changes and the circular economy urge the analysis of smart specialization in Ukraine, as it does not want to be a periphery. The progressive Western region with the operating IT cluster differs from the country's economic industries of early waves of innovation, as it does not require the spending of the new renewable resources and governmental subsidies. Moreover, technology intensive companies automatically have the circular business model. They save their and their partners' financial resources. Their products as a service businesses model is a value for customers, since the package service offer includes the after-sale service. Boosted IT education and promotion of professional-oriented business education have fostered the emergence of economic effects of transformation of the region ecosystem. The paper proves that the long-term perspective of resilient function of company of the 4, 5, 6 waves of innovation and digitalization with continue bring significant positive economic and social results. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Skrebko, for your presentation. It's very interesting. Does somebody have some questions to Professor?
Can I ask
Yes.
one question? Dear Professor Tatiana, Mariana from Lviv, I didn't understand. You show at your figure 3 parameters about quantitative changes, but in your report you told about only 2 parameters. What is the third parameter in this figure? What did you mean?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, you are very with very big attention listen and watching my present. I delighted. So yes, as I can say the dependencies of Y and X was studies, and the specification stage a pairwise linear regression was chosen. Analysis of the efficiency of the system of Lviv region tested by 4 hypotheses. My teams tested first hypothesis: the gross regional products depends from IT development. Second one, IT development depends from income from the population. Third hypothesis: IT development depends from gross regional product, and just this is most reality have a value. Yeah, and 4 about depends from IT to staff in the IT company. So on the first stage of our analysis, we put on the picture 3 lines and including the income of the population. Are you satisfied of my answering?
No, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So let us continue with our next presentation, the title of which is Consolidation of Business Process in Ensuring Sustainable Development of the Region. The floor is given to Христина Залуцька. Христя, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. Good afternoon. Some problem.
What I can help you? So you can share your presentation file.
Yes, I can.
The same recommendation for
Oh,
you.
Yes. Can you see?
Yes, the file is loaded, and please give the full screen size of your presentation and start. Take step.
I'm sorry.
One more, please.
I don't take my presentation, my slide. Help me.
So please send your file to my email, and you'll be next. Okay.
Okay. Maybe.
Not so
No.
I write you.
No. One moment. One moment.
What do you want to do?
Can you see a presentation?
Yes, we see it. Please start.
Okay. Okay. I am a Doctor of Economic Science Professor at Lviv Polytechnic National University. I want to give you a presentation on the topic consolidation of business process in ensuring sustainable development of the region. The stability of the region development as of any system depends on the effective balance of its subsystem territorial communities, which is supported by the effective implementation of the key components development project, which depends on optimization of the key elements business process by establishing rational relationship between them. To confirm this statement, the article proposed a structured methodological approach to the identification of the level of development, region, and ensuring its stability. Slide 2. The desirability of using the coefficient of synchronization of business process of important project of development of the region for determining the level of development of the region is substantiated. The calculation of the coefficient of synchronization present on slide 3. In this case, the size of the economic effects from the implementation of integrative and adaptive business process of individual development project is calculated by the formula field on slide 4. The value of the environmental and social effects from the implementation of integrative and adaptive business process of individual development project is proposed to calculate it by the formula only found on slide 4. The coefficient of synchronization will allow to coordinated execution various projects through resource interoperability of certain business process. The coefficient of synchronism reflects the level of development of the region through the level of compatibility of the complete project, ensuring its sustainable development at the expenses of the effect obtained from the implementation of certain business process of individual project and the interconnection determined by the strategic development program of the region and the state in general. In other words, it allowed us to determine the feasibility of implementing certain business process to ensure a sustainable development of the region. If the coefficient of synchronization is more than 1, we will have a margin of strength and the ability to implement other business process or the development project solution. If the coefficient of synchronization is less than 1, it is necessary to take measures that will contribute to increasing the value of this indicator. Slide 5 shows the structural detailing of the managerial approach to determine the level of development of the region using the coefficient of synchronization of business process of certain project of development of the region and ensuring it is sustainable according to the obtained results. For the purpose of forming optimal development portfolio of the regions, it is necessary to form effective and completed development portfolios of individual territorial communities that are part of each district. Slide 6 presents the coefficient of synchronism of business process in the development project of individual communities for some time. As an application slide 7 provides the outcome date needed to determine the coefficient of synchronization of business process of the portfolio of projects for the development of the Zolotovska community for the purpose of determining the possibilities of stabilization of the development within the region in accordance with the approach shown in slide 6. The calculation was carried out with the help of the formula present in slide 3 and slide 4. A graphical interpretation of the coefficient of synchronization business process of development project of individual local self-government bodies is shown in slide 8. The main results of determining the level of synchronism business process of the portfolio of development project and taking this value into account in the formation of a stable development of the within region are present in slide 9. Determination of coefficient of synchronization business process of the region will allow to define the specific orientation of the development of a certain territorial community, depending on the value of a certain effect during a long period of time, that will become its competitive advantage, which is appropriate to take into account in the formation of the regional and national strategic development program. The calculation of the coefficient of synchronism of business process of individual territorial communities will allow to build up the necessary regional development program, which will ensure stable development of a certain region in strategic period. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Does somebody want to ask Christina about her results of research? Maybe somebody has some comments on this report. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the next paper deal with particularly budgeting as a public mechanism of diagnostic priorities of territorial communities. And Irina Grigoruk, you are welcome.
Thank you. Just one moment.
Yes, we will too.
Can you see my screen?
Yes. Yes, we can see
Okay.
the presentation file, please.
Okay, so the topic of our presentation of our paper is participatory budgeting as a public mechanism for diagnosing priorities of territorial communities. First of all, I want to mention that participatory budgeting is rather new and democratic practice for Ukraine, but in other countries it was introduced 40 years ago, but in Ukraine just recently. This practice allows the population to propose projects that will be implemented at the expenses of the state fund for regional development based on public consideration and decision making. This mechanism for financial decentralization allows attracting additional funds from the budget to community development, and this helps to strengthen its economic security. The purpose of our study is to analyze the winning projects of participatory budgeting in the cities of Ukraine as a public mechanism for diagnosing the priorities of local communities and to develop proposals for possible prioritization of projects of strategic importance. For our study, we used some materials and methods. So the initial data for the study were official statistics, official websites of public budgets of Ukraine and Poland. Also regulations on the budget of participation of Ukrainian cities. Also strategies for urban development of Ukraine, scientific literature on the principles of participatory budgeting. The analysis uses the method of descriptive statistics to compare the categories of winning projects in Ukraine and in Poland. The basic data of participatory budgeting in the analyzed cities of Ukraine is presented on this slide. You can see that we took into consideration such cities as Kyiv, Odessa, Chernihiv, Dnipro, and Ivano-Frankivsk, and also we analyzed this information in 2017, 2018, 19, 20, and 21. During the research, all these winning projects they are analyzed, and we choose these particular cities just because we wanted to analyze the west, east, north, and south of Ukraine, and we thought that it would be some differences in depending on what regions of Ukraine the cities present. Also, the selection criteria were also various indices of urban development. In particular, a municipal competitiveness index for Ivano-Frankivsk was 65. For Chernihiv, for example, 59, and these cities have high level of municipal competitive index. And for example, Kyiv, we can see in the slide, has this index in the level of 50. And Odessa, 36, Dnipro, 43. And actually, these indices for these cities are rather low. Also, we took into consideration different types of projects in this city. And on this slide, you can see the information from Kyiv, Odessa, Chernihiv, Dnipro, and Ivano-Frankivsk. And also, you can see the types of the project. For example, in some cities, we analyze, like they have two types, small and big, like in Kyiv, Odessa, and Chernihiv. And in Dnipro, they have other types, for example, educational big and educational small. Same type of classifications for projects we have also in our city, in Ivano-Frankivsk. We have small educational and great educational. And we have, for example, big other or small other. And all these types we have analyzed. Also, we took into consideration categories used to analyze the winning projects in the resident cities. All the studied winning projects were divided according to a certain category. Projects based on names as well as descriptions posted on the public budget website were included in one category or another. Each project was assigned to only one category. In a situation where the task covered many aspects and several categories, the choice was made in favor of one dominant based on the analysis of the task description prepared by author. In other words, where it was about a playground or small architecture, for example, the code most similar to an accent was put by the author in the description of the project was chosen. On this slide, you can see the breakdown of projects by categories that won the budget participation in resident cities in Ukraine. You can see that during the 7 years of implementation of a public budget in Ukraine, the amount of funds allocated by local governments for the implementation of citizens' projects has increased about 60 times. So actually it's a huge increase of these projects. And the number of people participating in voting for them has increased almost 110 times. In Ukraine, the history of this participatory budgeting dates starts from 2015, and the practice of participation budgets was carried out based on Polish methods, Polish model. Therefore, we also analyzed the same structure. I'm sorry, this is the next part. Also, we analyzed the same structure, the same categories which exist in Poland. And on the slide, you can see the categories and cities. We took into consideration Krakow, Gdańsk, Lodz, and Białystok. And we compared with Ukrainian practice, with Ukrainian categories, and also looked at the same categories or maybe some other differences that existed. As a result, we made some conclusions. First of all, the cities of Ukraine solve urgent problems. For example, improvement of the material and technical base of educational institutions and a lot of different activities connected with public utilities. A significant part of the winning projects, both in Ukraine and Polish cities, aimed at improving sport infrastructure and recreational areas. What is negative for the cities of Ukraine in terms of the need to achieve sustainable development goals is that compared to our neighbors, like Poland, for example, we do not support projects related to waste management or other environmental aspects connected with, for example, alternative energy. And also, most Ukrainian cities have identified several strategic goals, and they tried to connect these goals in their strategies with the possible projects in participatory budgeting. And actually, it's a good sign. Also, each city independently regulates this framework and sets appropriate quotas for project types. It would be advisable to synchronize the principles of participatory budgets with the city development strategy. In particular, introduce quotas for projects related to waste management or renewable energy development. These projects can ensure the implementation of sustainable development goals set by United Nations and supported by city strategy. In such situation, information interaction of public authorities with civil society is of course necessary, and the implementation of public administration and the development of mechanisms that will give priority to funding projects that contribute to achieving sustainable development goals. And actually, these are prospects for our further research. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much. I welcome questions if at any point you are interested now. Does somebody want to ask? To Irina? No? Okay, and the floor is given to Alina Yakimchuk with the report by development of territorial communities, aspects of natural capital conservation and budget financing. Please.
Yes, thank you, my colleagues. Excuse me for the music on the street because my neighborhoods are very fun and the authors of this article are Alina Yakimchuk, Olena Panuchnik, Liliana Horal, Svetlana Hrenkevich. First of all, I want to say that preservation and reproduction of natural capital are among the most important components of the state environmental policy strategy of Ukraine. Natural capital forms a safe environment for human life and health, provides the population with food, medicine, and raw materials for industry, forms a natural barrier for the spread of the coronavirus infection, and the natural capital as the country's national wealth are the object of the study. The process of natural capital development in Ukraine under conditions of climate change on the basis of increasing the level of social, environmental, and economic security of the territorial communities on the example of Poland and Ukraine is the subject of this study. Specific and special methods were used as the dialectical and abstract logic methods, system analysis, economic statistical method, factor analysis by the method of main components, economic and mathematical modeling. First of all, I want to say that development of an efficient system of natural capital conservation and reproduction to increase the level of social economic security of local communities will minimize the negative impact of climate change, as well as ensure the strategic development of territorial communities based on the industrialization of the economy and mitigate the negative impact of the spread of the COVID. The research calculates the territorial communities' budget revenues, typical for all Ukrainian regions, on the example of 69 communities of Rivne region, and the results are consolidated in Table 1. Based on the economic mathematical modeling and correlation regression analysis, the dependence between the funding of territorial communities and the population in each territorial community was detected. The coefficient of correlation is close to 1, and it is 0.93 that adequate and parameters are available. And they have reviewed the Polish and Ukrainian economies prior to global pandemic and highlighted the main 4 challenges these countries faced on the economic domain and has been perceived from the outside as a political and economic power similar to Poland. And the unstable financial and economic situation of Ukraine and the tense military and political situation of the country are the major risks to the Ukrainian economy. The comparative characteristics of Polish and Ukrainian nature reserve funds has been made in this work, and the data of table shows that the natural capital is preserved in a range of nature reserve areas and objects. Most of them are nature landmarks both in Poland and Ukraine, although the largest area in Ukraine is covered by protected landscapes, 1,000,039 hectares and a million hectares, respectively 5 times more. And the network aims to preserve biodiversity by protecting both the most valuable and rare nature elements and the most typical and common natural system regular to biogeographical areas. Therefore, such natural capital preservation objects are the business card the future. They will become the ground for the marketing strategy of their development and positive territorial image promotion. And as a conclusion, I want to say that value of the study results lies in the improvement of the concept of sustainable development and the application of tools of green economy, which is the basis for a new strategy, reduction of natural capital, increasing the level of social, environmental and economic security of territorial communities, their favorable social economic development based on the intellectualization economies. Often toward
Thank you, Alina. We have some problems with connection with you, but almost we understand anything. There are some problems with connection with you, but in all we understand anything. I want to ask...
can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you, but there are some connection. Are there some questions to our report to Alina? So thank you, Alina. And I would like to make her presentation, Mrs. Mariana Bill. Her paper deals with social ecological challenges of the quality of life management in the region. Please, your paper and report will be followed by a full discussion.
Thank you very much. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, it is loaded your screen, but show our okay. Your presentation.
Okay, can you see now?
Yes, we see your presentation file. You can share it on full screen size if you can.
So yes, everything is okay, yes?
Everything is okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, my name is Mariana Bill. I am from the Lishny Institute of Regional Research. Greetings to everyone from Lviv. Especially thank you, Sofia Kafka, for organizing this conference and work of our session. We did this research with authors before the Russian invasion to Ukraine. Therefore, many aspects have now a new meaning, but the topic of our research is relevant for each of us, especially in war condition, because everyone wants to live in Ukraine with high quality of life. So the results of our study include scientific discussions of understanding the essence of quality of life and substantiation for its policy with an emphasis on social and ecological components. developments. We analyzed various scientific sources and found that quality is interdisciplinary category in economic scientist research that considered through the prism a progress, in particular the transition, while ensuring sufficient quantitative indicators of consumption, income, satisfaction of material needs of the population to higher intangible goals. These are social harmony, environmental quality, happiness, and other benefits that are difficult to standardize. Also, we analyze the definition of quality of life of United Nations and World Health Organization, and the source Google Book and Gram Viewer allows us to understand the relevance of using the term of quality of life in printed English language publications. On the slide, we can see that the term quality of life has gained peak of popularity and 2002 year. The process of the quality of life conceptualization started in 1917 years as a need to find an alternative indicator of progressive changes as opposed to economic growth. However, in addition to the term quality of life, scientists and specialists often use other categories. These are standards of living, welfare, human and sustainable development. Different analysis methods are developed for each of these categories, the results of which are used in global, national, and regional development strategies. The question is next, what is the difference in the term of quality of life from these categories? So in the figure, we can see how we formulated definition of these categories based on the generalization of various conclusions of scientists and documents of international organizations. Fundamental difference between a term of quality of life and other indicators is next. First, it is a combination of quantitative and qualitative assessment that is statistical assessment of the degree of satisfaction of the needs should be supplemented by self-assessment of the degree of provision of such goods determined by goals and values. Second, that the category of quality of life take into account the conditions of the environment, which determines the opportunities for access to goods and providing a certain material level to meet culture and intangible needs. And third, the quality of life implies achieving a stable state of the human environment with the properties of resistance. Development of quality of life concept has led to the separation of few scientific directions. You can see them on the table. These are health-related quality of life, quality of working life, etc. And also quality of life from the viewpoint of human ecology and environment is developed as an important directions. We researched the conceptual foundations of the quality of life policy on the regional level in this field. The conceptual foundations include theoretical and ideological provisions regarding the imperatives, recognitions, factors, consequences, principles, and benchmarks of policy impacts. You can see them on the figure. The imperatives mark the unconditional supremacy of ecological and social goals. Ecological imperatives update the ecological quality of life on the local level and preservation of the environment on the global scale. Social imperative confirms the supremacy of community interest over economic ones, requiring the introduction of new ways of use resources. Next, the conceptual foundations include the benchmarks and ways of quality of life policy. The progressive conceptual approaches are used in the policy of developed countries. Therefore, the best international practices should be taken into account when determining main mechanisms of quality of life policy in Ukraine and its ecological and social determinants. There are quality of life monitoring on the level of regions and settlements, stimulating the development of a green economy, support of ecological and social inclusive project, innovation technologies in the functioning of critical and social infrastructure, ecological taxation, and etc. that you can see on the slide. This is implementation of all directions for Ukraine during the war is problematic. However, some of them are already relevant in the military economy and may intensify for post-war reconstruction. This is stimulating the development of green economy to reduce the country's energy dependencies. Also, there are different ecological and social inclusive projects. Ecological projects can be technological, infrastructural, spatial planning, educational. Ecological projects are getting increasing support from international organizations after the COVID pandemic and adoption of the Green Recovery Package of ecological, regulating and fiscal reforms. Social inclusive projects directed at the development of inclusive society stipulate the securing of the quality of life for all groups of population, regardless of age, gender, and other criteria. The proposed social inclusive project is very wide because inclusiveness in the modern world is considered in special, social, and economic fields. Quality of life policy in Ukraine before the war in 2022 took on positive features. Prerequisites for this were successful decentralization reform and the alternative energy development. Decentralization reform allowed territorial communities of Ukraine to participate in various projects, in particular through the Ministry of Communities and Territories Development of Ukraine in cooperation with the European Union. Infrastructure projects and improving the quality of life at the community through ecological goals played a significant role in them. It is about the social infrastructure modernization, the insulation, replacement of windows, etc. According to Economist Intelligence Unit of the Quality of Life Index, Ukraine is significantly behind the leader and neighboring Poland as an example to follow. The main reason for such position are the low purchasing power of the population and the pollution index. Obviously, the security index is a powerful destructive factor under the current condition. Thus, what may be priorities in the military economy of Ukraine in quality of life sphere? In the first place is rebuilding and securing critical infrastructure and postponement of social infrastructure development. Also, there is a lot of information about the lack of payment for vulnerable persons that are approved by the government. Priorities in the post-war reconstruction are the social ecological goals of investment in the framework of international support, international patronage of reconstruction of certain regions and settlements, and creating favorable conditions for business and self-employment in Ukraine. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mariana. Do you have any question to Mariana?
Yes.
You're welcome.
Dear colleagues from Lviv, I would like to ask some questions. In particular, Mariana, in your opinion, is it appropriate to implement and ecological projects in Ukraine during the war? And what are the priorities for the implementation of such projects in the current situation? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your relevant question. In our opinion, it is important to suspend the implementation of ecological projects aimed at energy saving and thermal isolation. Ecological infrastructure projects should be suspended for now, even in relatively safe regions. Another issue is relevant now. During the war, experts recorded about 250 crimes against the environment in Ukraine. Ecology is called the silent victim of hostilities. Therefore, it is important to organize a system of recording and monitoring the ecological situation in the country and in the occupied territories, especially where nuclear power plants are located, to counter threats as far as possible and to bring the perpetrators to justify others and for the war. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer.
Does somebody else want to ask Mariana? Okay, I want to ask if Mr. or Ms. Litvinenko here.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes,
Mariana.
I'm here. Hello,
okay. Hello. The next paper is on state legal provision of dynamic information development of socio-economic environment, and I would like to ask Mrs. Litvinenko to present her report. Please.
Yes, just a second. Sorry, just a second. So do you see the slide?
Yes, your file is loaded and we see your slide.
Okay, great, thank you. So let me introduce myself. I'm Katerina Litvinenko from Odessa National University, and today I represent our co-authors team from different universities on the topic state legal provision of dynamic informational development of socio-economic environment. And let me start with short introduction on the context. In the modern conditions, state legal provision of dynamic informational development of socio-economic environmental consists in creation of favorable conditions of the institutions of civil society, which should be realized by the state person of authorized bodies of state power with the use of complex of methods, techniques, and means, as well as indirect influence through other state and socially important institutions, taking into account active development of scientific and technological progress. It is necessary to emphasize economic, social, and legal criteria of society which together form an effective basis for the development of the state. These criteria include economic and social freedom, which is possible only in the society with a market economy, where there is a right to choose any form of ownership and business activity within the limits of the legislation. Social criteria includes self-government and initiative from member society, openness, for example, to all sources of information. We analyze the indicators of the dynamic number of employed population in all types of economic activity in Ukraine through the period 2012 till 2020. According to the data presented in the current table, it's possible to confirm that the number of employed population from age 15 to 70 in Ukraine has a tendency to increase only in period 2011-2013 and 2018-2019. This is confirmed by the fact that in Ukraine there is no permanent increase of working population. It is connected with demographic problems, constant immigration population, especially since 2014. We'll carry out a more detailed analysis of the number of employed population aged 15-70 by professional groups in 2020. Results of analysis shows that the majority of the working population is engaged in the following professional groups: professionals, professions, trade and service workers. This confirms that the fact that the labor potential of Ukraine is not fully involved with the active development of the informational development of the socio-economic environmental. These factors are influenced by the low level of motivation of the scientific and intellectual workers, primarily due to low level of salaries of scientists, decrease of prestige of this profession, and low level of support of state legal provision. Accordingly, Ukraine lags behind in potential innovation and technical development from the world-leading countries on the level of the Global Innovation Index, the rating on which is given on the current table. According to this, Ukraine is only on the 49th place by the level of Global Innovation Index. This confirms that all the innovation and intellectual potential is not fully revealed. All the national intelligence just flows to other countries that fully motivate this activity. According to the data of previous tables, it's possible to confirm that the indicators of dynamic range of innovation cost in Ukraine for the period 2012 and 2020 have a tendency to increase, except for 2012, 2014, and 2017. This is confirmed by the fact that in Ukraine the constant increase of innovation costs, the first table and the current one, but in small size. This is due to the low level of state legal support, such as tax system, legislation, lack of state interest support, etc. So we calculated the dynamics of changes in the employed population and innovation costs, and this is presented on the current slide. We use the U criteria man-UTI, which was calculated and was equal to 11. As we know, the critical value for the U criterion man-UTI at the given number of comparable groups is 30. So 11 is less than 30, so the difference at the level of indication in comparison groups are statistically significant. We also calculate the human index of rank correlation. And to sum up, by means of calculation of U criteria, man-UTI, and Spearman's index of the rank correlation is determined that the rank correlation coefficient is statistically not significant, and the rank correlation relationship between the estimates of the two tests is insignificant. The analysis shows that in Ukraine there are significant problems of the relationship between the change of the level of employed population and the innovation cost in period 2010-2020. This negatively affects the development of the social and economic environment. In order to effectively develop the social economic environment, it's necessary to form a system of state legal support using informational resources. The development of civilization, the era of revolutionary discoveries, first of all, in the sphere of informational technologies, has developed a qualitatively new era, new discoveries. Please see the current figure. A map of the state legal support of dynamic informational development of social and economic environmental modern understanding of all knowledge, informational necessary of achievement of certain goal, knowledge of rules and principles of process management, natural, financial, human, energy, intellectual, and informational resources, as well as the whole set of social, economic, ecological, and political consequences of the map implementation in a specific environmental, including the consequences of the use of the produced products and services. The condition of the state legal provision of the dynamic informational development of the social, economic, environmental is an increase in the status of human personality that emerges of economic independence. Modern society is a source of legitimacy of the current political forces. The state's contacts with the authorized bodies and officials with the non-governmental sector are a wide source of information about its state. The demographic regime provides for close interaction of the state and society, the basic of political and economic stability in the country. And in certain historical circumstances, such as crisis or war, and state support for the informational development of the social economic environment. So to sum up, I would like to resume that since Ukraine is an integral part of the informational community, it's necessary to support the priorities of rights and freedoms, free development, creation, and favorable legal, organizational, material, and other directions for realization of the basic direction of state legal support of this dynamic informational development of social economic environment. Exactly the sustainable development goals of the social and economic environmental are related to the state legal provision of the dynamic informational technologies aimed at improving economic growth and solving a wide range of problems in the sphere of healthcare, education, employment, social protection, and environmental protection. I thank you for your attention. Please welcome your questions.
Thank you, Katya. If you have any question about this, please ask to Katya. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the next paper is devoted to the territorial communities of Ukraine in the context of decentralization. And the floor is given to Mrs. Olena Panukhnik. Olena, are you here?
Good afternoon, I'm here.
Oh, okay, thank you. You are the most active our participant, and I don't notice that you are Lena Panuchnik. Sorry.
I don't know what has happened with my presentation.
So I can help you. It seems to me that I have your presentation. If you don't mind, I'll present your file, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Is this?
Oh, it's very nice.
Please.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the participants of the conference, first of all, on behalf of the team of authors, please second slide of my presentation. Authors who represent Lviv and Ternopil, let me express our sincere gratitude to the organizational committee of the conference for the invitation to participate in it. We would like to offer to your attention the following report. Territorial communities, second slide, please. First slide. Territorial communities of Ukraine in the context of decentralization. Next, thank you. The success and scale of the introduction of innovative technologies in the practice management of territorial communities largely depend on the direction of changes and the ability to respond to them in a timely manner. Decentralization helps the interest of civil society and state development to be protected by involving territorial communities in local development management. This, in turn, can lead to the formation and development of the territorial community as a basic subject of local government, where local sources of budgetary revenues, human and infrastructural resources may be sufficient for local governments to make a decision on local level, provided by law, in the interests of community residents. Next slide. The issues of decentralization of power, development of local self-government, formation of capable united territorial communities have been revealed in many works of scientists. However, considering the importance of the problem in modern conditions, the effectiveness of the united territorial communities, which depends on the population, remains insufficiently analyzed. General scientific, theoretical, and empirical research methods were used to solve a number of tasks. The empirical approach is based on prognostic methods, such as generalization of independent characteristics and modeling. Within the economic mathematical method, the methods of correlation regression analysis and modeling are being implemented. Next slide. Calculations were made to build a regression model of the dependence of revenues to the general fund of the budget, y on the number of territorial communities, x1 population, x2 and area, x3, according to statistical data on regions of Ukraine in 2021. You can see them described in slide 6. Statistical data on the construction of the regression equation in the regions of Ukraine during 2021 are shown in table 1, slide 7. Competing local communities need to create the most favorable environments for attracting investment and businesses, which will include infrastructure and better services at a lower cost to businesses and citizens. In modern conditions, the measures of innovative development of territorial communities should be complemented by projects of integrated and sustainable development, which will include local industry, construction, trade, tourism, and socio-economic component. Stimulating determinants of territorial communities are shown in figure 1, slide 8. In modern conditions, the introduction of foresight technology is relevant as a prediction in the process of strategic planning for the development of the territorial community. In this foresight, not only the result is important, but also the process of obtaining it, taking into account specific scenarios or carefully developed economic models. Foresight as a technology for forecasting the development of territorial communities is featured in figure 2, slide 9. The reliability of the obtained results, conclusions, and proposals is based on a comprehensive analysis of statistical data and scientific generalizations. Lviv Oblast is one of the 5 leaders in terms of revenue to the general fund. So, dividing it into 3 groups according to population, we will analyze in more detail the revenues, expenditures, and transfers of territorial communities of Lviv Oblast. Grouping of territorial communities of Lviv Oblast and their analysis in 2021 presented in table 2, slide 10. The focus is one of the role of local budgets as a financial base for the functioning of communities, based on which are guidelines for the development of local budgets in the main areas are determined. Increasing the revenue base, ensuring efficient implementation of expenditures, improving to procedure for providing intergovernmental transfers. Revenues and expenditures per capita are shown in figure 3, slide 10. Periodic recessions or regress of this process caused by some changes in the economy. The figure shows that in all 3 groups studied, expenditures per capita exceed incomes by an average of 30%. The main conclusions of our research are presented in slide 12 and 13, the most important of which underlines that modern technologies have increased the efficiency of public administration and autonomy. Competitiveness of territorial communities is based on the ability of the local economy. Companies located in the community provide quality services, produce goods in demand in international markets, thereby increasing the total income of the community, creating interest for local businesses, attracting foreign investment by encouraging living and working people who live in this area. The economic growth of territorial communities is associated with innovative programs and projects, the implementation of which allows the community to increase the competitiveness and improve the economy of its environment. But all this is impossible without the joint activities of the community. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any question, I will be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much.
May I ask a question, please?
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, so my question, how can you prove the feasibility of the inclusion of the factors that you named in table 1 in the model you have described?
Oh, Rina, thank you very much for your question. Based on the proposed method using the initial data on table 1, we obtained the reliability of the constructed multiple linear regression, verified using the correlation and determination coefficients, standard error, and Fisher's test. The multiple coefficient of determination is greater than the coefficient of determination. This indicates the feasibility of including factors x1, x2, and x3 in the model. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions, or we can move next? So, and now we are hearing the final report of the session in which attention is directed to the problem of resource efficiency and pricing policy of industries in the sustainable development context. Nadia Shmehel, are you ready to be talking about this important problem?
Yes, thank you very much. And good afternoon. I try to share my presentation. Can you hear? Can you see?
Yeah, we hear and see your presentation, okay. Please.
Our topic is resource efficiency and pricing policy of the industries in the sustainable development context. And you can see our scientific teams. First of all, I would tell you that analysis of the current development of the Ukrainian economy indicates that the exceptional role of the extractive industry is providing additional for the rhythmic functioning and development of other sectors of the Ukrainian economy in the context of sustainable development, especially such as production and distribution of electricity, gas, and water, and processing industry, transport, and construction. And the oil and gas sector of Ukraine's economy includes heavy industry enterprise, which is engaged in exploration, extraction, and processing, transportation, and storage of oil and gas. Their specifically oil and gas sector enterprises are part of the extractive and processing industry. Effective development of this complex yields role in the economy of many states and priority areas of research for foreign and of course for domestic scientists. The research problem and the features of the price policies, the direction of resource efficiency provision is in this sector of economy is based on the scientific works. Some domestic, foreign scientists. Our teams work on this problem also for some period of time, and a lot of some specific method, and we use practical aspect of implementation. We're not just simple output model based on activity of this sector of economy. The input data of the consumption of resources by the oil and gas sector within for a certain period were obtained for statistic input-output tables from the state statistics service, and detailing of the elements of the intermediate consumption of specified tables. Conduct an appropriate analysis for extraction with natural gas as well as the production of oil, refining products, and the first relates to the extractive industry, second to the processing industry. And you can see in slide the dynamics of liquid oil and gas production during the 2015-2020 at comparative prices of the base period as well as the corresponding volume of resource consumption. The dimension of these indicators shows on the mean vertical axis on the left. And I will stay and presentation last 20 years overall reduction of output as the comparative prices were 30%. As a result, the volume of production in 2020 was only 83% of the level of 2015. Such changes led to the fact that resource consumption for the same period decreased by the 56%, and resource intensity decreased from the 13% to 10%. Although we have a tendency when resource efficiency deteriorates during economic growth and the growth during a period of economic downturn. Despite that, additional research and courses are required by another trend, namely the calculated level of resource intensity, despite the detected fluctuation is significantly lower than the other sector of the economy. For example, in Paris construction, this indicator was a range of 60%. The reason for this phenomenon is related by the dynamics of value-added share and the profitability of sales, which is shown on the slide. Regarding the production of oil refined products as a part of the processing industry, the situation with resource intensity will be different. As can be seen from this slide, volumes and dynamics of output production from 2015 to 2020 are comparable to oil and gas production. The average annual increase in oil refined products until 2018 is plus 13%, and the corresponding annual increase in resource consumption is about 15%. As in the previous case, comparing the dynamic of these two indicators shows a decrease in overall resources efficiency. After 2018, there was a decline in production, as a result of which, at the end of the responding period, its volume reached the level of 2015. Similarly, the level of resource intensity decreased to 22%. Thus, the greater dependence of oil refining enterprises of the resource component is due to the specificity of their production activity. Prospect for their economic development, taking into account the reserves of growth of resource efficiency, can be determined on the basis of the expert evaluation of the indicators of intermediate consumption at value added, as well as the financial result of activity. And you can see on the graph. The limited model of input data are available on the State Statistics Services Agreement 2015-2020. They contain data of volumes of intermediate consumption and intermediate cost, added value, elements, final demand, and total output by industry, and broken down by activities. And you can see it's stable. Therefore, the adoption of the primary input involved in their aggregation. According to the data of 2020, the shares of value added by industry are given in column 2, were able to, and they informed that there are prices imbalance at the moment in this production and refining and green to be, which have a negative impact on the development of the processing industry in this sector economy. Taking into account the adjusted direct cost ratios, sector value added share based on the developed scenario given in this table in column 3, thus we see the new equilibrium state of the fictional economic system implies a reduction of the value added share of oil and gas productivity by minus about 3.58% to 62%, with a simulation increase of this indicated by the 7.93 to 35.66% in oil refining. The resource intensity of the products of the oil and gas sector enterprises has changed not only in the expense of value added, but also taking into account the adjusted direct cost ratios. In our case, it will increase by 0.9% to 11% in oil and gas production and decrease by 3.4 to 18.7 in oil refining. As a conclusion, I would tell you that the scenario will allow us to refine enterprises to provide their own sources of for the economic development and significantly reduce their resource intensity of their product. And in this study, we explore practical aspect of implementation of the implemented input-output model based on the activity of the oil and gas sector within. We have further development which, unlike the existing ones, make it possible to establish a linkage between the pricing policy and the industries and the resource efficiency. And,
thank you, Nadia. Do you have any questions to the results of Nadia research? So, thank you, Nadia, very much. And from organizers, one more question: are there any participants in our conference that want to represent her report or paper? Because my plan is over today, and if there are somebody that want to take a short speech, please give me know. And now I want to remind you from organizators that tomorrow at 11 o'clock in the morning we invite you on the training by the same meeting ID, and the training will be from 11 to 15 o'clock. So I will wait you. And now I want to complete our work, and I congratulate all of you on giving such pleasant and useful report. I'd like to finish by thanking all of you for joining us, and I look forward to see you at our next international conference session next time. See you. Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.